So, hi everyone. I see some folks are joining us tonight here for Latino Victory's Substack with Trey Martinez Fisher, who we've all heard a lot about recently based on what's going on in Texas and your brave efforts in the legislature to prevent what we understand is very damaging to our democracy, right? Which is the redistricting in Texas. So, folks have heard a lot about this in the media. But before we get in the headlines, I would love to hear a little bit about you and your journey and your story of how you came about. Trey, you have served your community for over 2 decades, which we know with distinction. Um, You've led the Mexican American Caucus. Tell us a little bit about what brought you to this moment that we are in time. What brought you to public service and your path to Chicago, which is where you are right now.
Well, first, let me say thank you for hosting this, and I'm going to touch my phone real quick because people are calling. And I apologize, but thank you for hosting this and for Latino Victory, putting this platform together. I mean, at the end of the day, this map is going to impact Latinos in Texas more so than anyone else because we are half the population, and I think Latinos need to make that connection and understand what's being done here. This has nothing to do with Republicans versus Democrats. This is a power grab on the backs of the minority community. So let me just say thank you for being a facilitator to get this message out. My journey is just like everybody else's. We want to do a little bit better than my parents' generation. My mother picked crops. My father went to the Air Force right out of high school to support his siblings, and they worked day and night to get into the middle class. And then they drilled into us as kids that even if my dad had to drive a cab at night, we were all going to college, right? And that was the rule. And so I graduated from college and I spent a lot of time in Austin. I interned for the last Democratic Attorney General, who happened to be Latino, Dan Morales. I worked for him on two different occasions, and I realized that Austin was kind of a place for me. And when I left the University of Texas Law School in 1998, I went home to San Antonio in 1999. I started knocking on doors and was elected in 2000 to my first term in the Texas House at the age of 29. I've now done 12 terms there in Austin, and I'm no longer 29, I'm 55. And I've seen a lot, I've done a lot, I've been through a lot. But of everything I've ever done, and I have never done anything as important as standing up for our democracy, fighting for inclusion and voting rights, and to make sure that our people will have a seat at the table. Because, as you know, as they say in Austin, that if you're not at the table, then you're likely on the menu, right? And so we've got to represent our communities. And sometimes, I hate to say it, in 2025, we're still fighting for basics, which is, the basic liberties that we all have just by virtue of being citizens in this country. But that has been my journey. In my 25 years, I've chaired the Latino caucus for 8 years. I've chaired the Democrat caucus. I've fought for voting rights, taking two cases to the U.S. Supreme Court. I have been involved in quite a bit, and I want to make the most of my time to be an effective voice for Latinos and for all Texans.
Thank you for that. And I think that's the story of many of our Latino elected officials that have come on our Substack and that I've met through my years in public service, helping Latinos get elected and building representation. The fact is that we're very proud of being Americans, and we definitely want to make our communities better. So I thank you for your service. It's really an American story. And so now we get to this moment. And so a lot of folks have heard about the potential Texas redistricting, but they're not 100% clear on what is actually being proposed and what the impact is to really understand why you and your colleagues are doing what you're doing in this moment, right? So the way we see it, of course, is a real reshaping of what Texas electoral politics would look like, and representation, and a challenge on all the rights that we fought for over the past 60 years. Can you, for our audience, explain a little bit of how the maps would reshape the Texas politics and the importance of this moment?
Sure. Well, here's a good background just so everybody has the same facts. Texas is one of the fastest growing states in the country. And so, just in the last 2 decades, while the rest of the country's lost population, we have gained population. So much population that we have received 6 brand new seats in Congress in the last 20 years. Four, 10 years ago, two right now. That growth is all minority. It is 90% minority, 50% Latino. Think about that. Let me say that again. All of the growth that has given us 6 additional seats in Congress are Latino and African American. And that is significant. Latinos and African Americans do not get seats in Congress as a consequence. So minorities are used to get new seats in Congress. And when they are apportioned to our state, then Republicans master the science of cracking, packing, and stacking and dispersing the minority community so that no matter how hard we try, if we wanted to elect a candidate of our choice, we never could. So, what is stacking, packing, and cracking? Great example. In the Texas 23, which is a district currently represented by Tony Gonzalez, that seat has gone from Republican, Democrat, back and forth, and one of the maps was proposed, not now, but in a previous session, had taken the county of Maverick County, which is where Eagle Pass is. This is a 99% Latino county that votes 95% Democrat, probably. And what they did is they just drew a line down the middle and said half of this county is in one congressional district and the other half of the county is in another district. Maverick County would never be able to come together and put a member of Congress in Washington because their vote has been split. Well, that's what occurs, right? So while they've had 6 seats in Congress, they have divvied them up to their satisfaction. These Republicans, we are fighting the maps from 2021 right now in a federal courtroom.
Hmm.
And all the Republicans have taken the stand under oath before judges that race had nothing to do with these maps. They were drawn race blind. It's all about political performance. And so we were all shocked when the Department of Justice said, hey, Texas, you have a problem. You drew these seats with race in mind. Therefore, you broke the law. So redraw them. So my natural response is, okay, well, who's lying? Are the senators who said these maps were race blind, did they just lie to federal judges? Because you can go to jail for that. Or is the Trump DOJ manipulating the facts and are they lying? So, end of day, their maps, their plan, still not good enough. And this is about Donald Trump asking Greg Abbott, who has bent the knee, to get 5 new seats in Congress from Texas that would be Republican. And that is what this fight is all about. But make no mistake, these maps are being drawn to hurt the minority community. Just look at who the targets are. Now they're all officials who've been elected by voters of their choice. Like they voted for these folks. It's Vicente Gonzalez, Henry Cuellar, Greg Casar, Sylvia Garcia. They're all gente. They're all our people. And these are the folks that are going to get hurt the most.
For sure. And let's make it very clear. This is not normal. It is an unusual maneuver that's being done mid-decade, right? There's always redistricting as a result of the decennial census. But the fact is that there's no reason for a redistricting process at this point. And that's why, for example, President Trump is also trying to manipulate now the census by proposing to do a new census based on these tactics to suppress minority votes. And so let's talk about a little bit what's happening now. So you and your colleagues have left the state in order to avoid the process, to prevent the process from continuing. So how do we see this playing out? And then, of course, we want to hear about how you all are doing, because we also know that there's a lot going on there. But tell us first, why you've now left the state and how we see the process playing out.
Sure. Well, obviously, this is wrong. I mean, mid-decade redistricting, the Supreme Court has said, okay, you could do it, anytime, and playing politics is not against the law. If you want to be partisan, be partisan. We never did mid-decade redistricting, but it's not unconstitutional. What is unconstitutional is when you do it on the backs of the Latino community, right? So what's being drawn are districts because people say, well, Trump won these areas. Trump won South Texas. Therefore, we need a Republican out of Congress. Well, let's hold on a minute because the same voters who voted for Trump in November voted for Vicente. They voted for Henry Cuellar. They voted for who they wanted to. And it's these very same people now who are being punished for being able to vote for who they want to. And now districts will be manufactured so that even if you didn't vote for for Trump, or if you didn't vote for Vicente, he wasn't going to win anyway. I mean, they will engineer this, and so that's what's wrong about this. And they're doing it all over the state. So we said as Democrats, we're not going to be a party to that. And we know that the country's asleep. We know there's a power grab, and we are one of the very. They're not many states in the country that have a quorum protection in their state constitutions. We're one of them. And so we knew that if we were to leave, we were going to sound the alarm for the country and we were going to wake everybody up. We always say from Texas, you think about the Apollo 13 mission where you hear the sound and says, Houston, we have a problem. I've been saying for 2 weeks now, America, we have a problem. Our democracy is being stolen right before our very eyes, and we need to wake up, right, and push back. And I think we've been sounding that alarm now for 2 weeks pretty effectively. And while we protest these maps and they don't move, we are working with other states. We have sent delegations to California now on 2 occasions to meet with Governor Newsom to talk about what they can do to offset any gains made in Texas. And Governor Newsom announced just last week that they believe they will be taking to the voters a plan to approve 5 new congressional seats in California that would elect Democrats mid-decade. And very, very clear. And in fact, Governor Newsom sent a letter to Donald Trump saying, President, we will stand down in California if you stand down in Texas. We do not have to escalate this issue, but if you think you're going to steal the 2026 election before the first vote's ever cast, we have news for you. We're going to do it differently in California. And other states are saying the same thing. New York is looking at this. New Jersey is looking at this. Maryland is thinking about this. Even though Oregon only has one Republican in their delegation, they're looking at this. I mean, we are not going to have our democracy stolen. And as Governor Pritzker said here in Illinois, if Trump is going to throw out the rules, if we have no rules to follow, then it's mano a mano. It is fire with fire. And so I think the country is responding. I have a lot of faith in the American public when it comes to preserving and protecting our democracy. I think we're doing what we need to do. And we know at some point we go back home, we do not have the votes. We knew that 2 weeks ago, but we have legislated with our feet and we have left to Illinois so that we can make the public fully aware of what's going on and get everybody to wake up.
Thank you for that. And I will say that we've seen all of these political maneuvers. And as you mentioned, sometimes it's a part of politics. But at the end of the day, it's really about what the American public is going to do. And perhaps the gains that Trump had in 2024, and we've already seen that in all the polling, they have eroded, and perhaps they won't be as uh, significant as he thinks they will be in this process. So even if, Texas makes a certain move, or California, or any of these other states, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to our people. And voters are not stupid. Voters are going to see what's happening. And like you, I have a lot of faith that folks will respond accordingly. So on that, let's talk about the issues that matter to folks, right? We know that pocketbook issues were top of mind in 2024, irrespective of how the redistricting plays out? How do you see uh, the road to 2026 for our communities?
Well, we were told in 2024 that you know, President Trump was going to bring us the age of enlightenment and we were going to, see robust returns in our retirements and savings and the economy was going to grow. We know right now that the cost of eggs is $7 a dozen in lots of stores. We know that if you like tomatoes, well, they come from Mexico and they are being subject to tariffs. If in Texas, we're very proud of our oil and gas, and we know right now oil is trading at about $63 a barrel. Just to break even in the oil business in Texas, oil has to be at 65. So we're already not making money producing oil. And then on top of that, the two things that go into oil production more than anything else is steel and aluminum. And we have tariffs on that. So, we're not making money producing oil and gas. And so our economy is in trouble. People, we sit at our kitchen table. I do it in my house with my wife. I'm not doing it, these last 2 weeks because I'm in Illinois. But we got to figure out a way to balance that budget every single time. And families are doing that across this country, and they know they're not better off than they were, 2 years ago or a year ago. And we have to turn that around. But we also have to just, be very truthful, and we have to do our part to educate the public as to what is really going on. Because if you just turn on the news for 5 minutes, I mean, there are so many things happening that nobody can focus on what I call the pendejadas. There's so many of those out there. There's so many of those out there that you don't know what to concentrate on. So folks just change the channel and they tune out. And we can't let that happen because we know that our checks are shrinking and prices are getting higher and we are getting priced out of the middle class, and there's a person to blame for that, and we have to message who the person is that's doing that, so we know that these people can then exercise their power and get somebody new in office that is going to work for them and not work for the privileged few, right?
No, for sure. And we saw that in the budget battle at the federal government, right? Where you have now a process by which millions of Americans are going to be kicked off of their health insurance. Millions of Americans are going to lose access to food support. We have job losses. With unemployment and jobs holding at terrible lows the last 3 months. Folks are scared, right? There's a lot of anxiety around the markets and what's going to happen with the tariffs. So certainly, I think people are waking up to what's really happening. And I appreciate that you have been a voice in that respect, not only sounding the alarms, but also taking action. And I know that's taken a toll. You talked about your family and
Mhm.
being away from the kitchen table. I'd like to focus on that for just a moment,
Sure.
because I know at the end of the day, as a person, also this takes a toll um, on you and your family. And then also, you have the FBI looking for you all. I see that you have a white wall behind you. So tell me a little bit about what this is like. And does it is it intimidating? Are we really, for the folks that haven't gotten it yet, are we really in the beginnings of authoritarianism?
I mean, look, I mean, if someone asks me the question, "Are you scared?" Yeah, yes, we're scared. I mean, we are being, to use the governor's terms, I mean, we're being hunted by folks in Texas, right? They are blowing the dog whistle with that kind of language that inspires vigilantes and folks out there trying to be a hero by coming to look for us. I had a guy sending my picture all over Twitter saying, "Look at where he did that interview. Look at that statue. He's in Kentucky, so let's go get him. If you're in Kentucky, let's go get him." Yeah, I wasn't in Kentucky, number one, but number two, it's our security is first and foremost. I'm facing. I have a wall behind me because that is the rule. Yeah, that's all you're going to see when I do a Zoom if I can't get a good background on the screen before the interview. So yes, we are worried about safety. The governor Pritzker has done a fantastic job protecting us because threats have been made. There are many officials involved, a lot of law enforcement, so we feel very comfortable. People in Illinois have been very welcoming. In our communities back home, our families are protected as well. I'm very grateful to law enforcement officials who step up, and if there's ever anything that doesn't look right or sound right, and even though there's a civil arrest warrant for me in Texas, law enforcement still does their job when it comes to protecting families and other innocent individuals. But yes, look, it takes a toll on the family. I have a wife and 2 daughters. My daughters are old enough to read the newspaper. They know what dad is up to. They know that I am on the right side of history. We have people with me in Illinois that are single parents, and their children are here with them because they have nowhere else to go. We have folks who take care of their parents, and have had to make arrangements for other caretakers to look after mom, to look after dad. Like I said, we all have jobs. We all have to answer to a boss. We all have to run a business. It is not easy. And then, of course, being in a stress environment, you can easily, you can easily snap and get into a heated exchange with a colleague over nothing, right? I mean, so it's the casualty, it's the stress. But at the end of the day, we know we're on the right side of this. End of the day, we've seen the response from the country. End of the day, we recognize this is not the fight I asked for. I didn't pick this fight. I didn't wake up in the morning and say, "Sabes qué? Let's go to Illinois." This is the fight that was brought to us, and we're going to meet this moment. And this is the fight that we're in, and this is the fight that we're going to finish. And like I said, the country now is paying attention, and the country now is acting. And we played our part. Now it's up to the rest of the country to push back on this authoritarian president.
Thank you for that. And let me ask you this. How long do you think this is going to last?
I packed a big bag, and so
Lots of toothpaste.
lots of toothpaste I can get, but, just some of the things that you wanna make sure that, you own them and you worn them before, you're not just buying them off the shelf. I mean, I'm here with colleagues that have gone to a store just to buy essentials that they didn't pack enough, right? And look, every day is a negotiation. We know goal number 1 is to stop the first special session. It looks like we're gonna be very successful in doing that. There are now we have made some terms that we don't care about politics. We care about flood victims. We care about human trafficking. We care about all the other priorities that make sense. That we want to work on those things. So we'll let the negotiators continue to negotiate. But I know this. There are 97 Republicans and Democrats that were on the floor last week in Austin. I think today's number was like 95, 96. I know this when history writes about this day, they're not gonna find my name in the first 100 members that establish quorum. I am not going back to establish a quorum. My commitment is the fight for this democracy, and there is nothing you can incentivize me with to tell me to come home and be number 98, number 99, or number 100. That's not happening. I'm from the west side of San Antonio. We're pretty proud over there, and I don't wanna be walking on aisle 5 of my grocery store and have one of my neighbors tell me that I let them down when it came to saving our democracy. So I'm in this fight for the long haul, but every day is a new day. We had a tremendous briefing, yesterday evening from national leaders, including Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, to tell us what's happening in other places around the country, and it sounds like a lot of momentum is being created, and some of that has to do with our work.
No, absolutely. And being on the front lines of that work as well. Um, Let me ask you this. For the Texans that are watching and who maybe feel that their democracy and the political system is stacked against them, is there a message that you want to give to your folks back at home and to the rest of our country um, to give them hope around this moment?
Yes, I mean, look, we can't give up, right? I mean, if you quit, I'm going to quit, right? We are dependent on each other to get through this. We have seen tough times, and we have always shouldered through it. We just keep working, we keep grinding, we never give up. And number 2, we have to engage. This is about, this is the perfect time to start talking to your neighbors that aren't participating in the voting system. I tell Texans all the time, we are not a Republican state. We're a non-voting state. So many Latinos and African Americans they have registered to vote, but they've never voted, or they're eligible to vote and they've never registered. We are a non-voting state, and we have to recognize our power. And that's why I'm so grateful for groups like Voto Latino, that understand the mission. So my message to people out there that want to help and want to be supportive, I say 3 things. Number 1, if you haven't reached out to one of my colleagues with an email or a text or a social media post, give them some love. You have no idea how much it means to know that you have their back. I know how I feel when I get those messages, and I know how they feel when they get those messages. We share them with each other. We show each other, hey, look at this person, what they said about me. So number 1, do that. Number 2, you continue to support the mission of Voto Latino, because we need these platforms that are out there what we're doing. We are all partners. We all work together. And then the final thing I say, that after you've done number 1 and done number 2, and you're debating whether you're going to spend $5 on a cup of coffee or you want to invest in a worthy cause, this is our group right here. This is onetexas.org. This is this is my leadership fund. No consultants, no commissions, no middleman. This is resources that are 100% that get deployed here in Illinois. For me to do my job, I have 3 members of my team here. So that's 3 plane tickets, that is 9 meals a day, that is 3 hotel rooms, that is I don't know how many Uber rides here and there. And so we can do this with your support. We will keep fighting, but do not give up on our democracy. And like I said, let's not get mad. Let's get even.
Absolutely. And for those who joined a little bit late, we are here tonight with Representative Trey Martinez Fisher, who is doing God's work, protecting our democracy. One of the representatives from Texas who's currently in Illinois, preventing midterm redistricting. So, thank you so much for your comments. Again, for those who joined late, this is Catherine Pichardo, President and CEO of Latino Victory. And our mission is to build Latino political power at all levels of government. That's why we support elected officials like Trey and so many others who are fighting for our communities, and as well work with partners across the country, both local and national partners, to build our Latino vote so that our community's voice is heard. So thank you so much again, Trey, for joining. We know these are crazy times for you, but we are with you, and we will continue to work together in this process. And I thank everyone who joined today, and for those who will be listening at home throughout the week. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.